So today we're tackling the age-old question, how much should I spend on my first piano? Well, that is a super loaded question, and the answer is going to be a little different depending on your age, any prior experience, and of course the comfortable budget range that you're coming at this with. So to help answer this question to as wide an audience as possible, I've broken this down into 8 different categories of instruments that could all work really well as a beginner instrument, and applied some pros and cons to each. Let's get started. So the first type of keyboard that you might come across is what I'm going to call a basic portable keyboard. These are going to be keyboards that probably are battery operated, likely very, very inexpensive, and definitely all are going to be under $300. Some are even going to be under $100. Here's what I've learned about that category. There's a huge difference in the quality of the sound and quality of the action from one to the other. So you want to try and stick to brands which you recognize. Maybe Yamaha or Casio both make instruments in this category, such as the CTS 300. So the pro in this case is that you're able to keep the budget nice and low, and you don't really have to stress out too much whether this is going to be a lasting endeavor or this is just something that they're momentarily interested in. In terms of cons, there's really 2 that I can think of. The first is one about inspiration. If you've got somebody who legitimately is really excited about this, something that's very, very small and pretty limited musically could actually blunt that early excitement, which could work against you. Kind of like if somebody was really excited to try hockey and you gave them a pair of dull skates and that was their first experience, it kind of taints the whole impression of what that activity or that hobby is going to be like. The second con is if it does go really well, you're back shopping in a really short amount of time and there's virtually no resale value in this category whatsoever. So 3 months in, 6 months in, well, you're back into the store and now you're probably going to be looking at a more substantial spend, and that first spend is kind of a waste. So here's the next category worth considering, and I'm going to call this low quality weighted 88 note pianos. And these are going to sit in the $300 to $500 range. And a lot of these are going to be from brands that you may not recognize. They're going to be available from big box stores and maybe Amazon. And all of them are going to be really playing up the fact that it is a weighted action. None of that means that it's not worth a consideration, and none of that really is a con either. The pro, of course, is that you're able to access something that your teacher is going to be happy with because they're going to be harping at you to get a weighted 88 note action, and you're able to keep the budget nice and low. The con is that the musical experience on these instruments in a lot of cases isn't actually that much better than what you get on the portable pianos at $200 or $300 less. The speakers are pretty low quality, it's a very basic tone technology, and in a lot of cases you're getting things like phasing and a lot of distortion out of these instruments, plus a very narrow dynamic range. So it's almost as though they're asking you to pay a premium just so they can say that it's a weighted 88 note piano, but musically speaking, you kind of really haven't actually upgraded. The third category is the first one where I really think you've got some lasting power with this potential purchase. And these are going to be higher quality, fully weighted 88 note pianos with a fairly basic feature set from brands that you recognize. This is where you start to see options from Yamaha, Kawai, Roland, and better options from Casio. And in a lot of cases, you're starting to get up into a piano action that really could serve most piano students for the first few years of their piano journey, even if they are accelerating pretty quickly. Often what you're losing out in this category is pretty small speakers and basic tone technology, but at least the feel of the keyboard is pretty authentic, and the construction quality means that you're not going to be running into a lot of technical issues. So the pro, of course, is that this is the first level where you can say to yourself, well, I've bought something that's kind of an investment in me or my child's musical future. The con is, if you or your child has got keen ears, you might still feel the pretty big gap musically between it and, say, any acoustic pianos they might be interfacing with, say the one at the teacher's house. For our fourth category, now we're up into high quality digital pianos from all the major manufacturers, both in portable format as well as what we generally refer to as the home digital, something that has a permanent stand and 3 pedals. And in terms of price range, we're talking really about the $800 to $1,500 USD mark. The pro is that you've got now a nice balance of speaker performance, tone quality, action, and construction quality, and all of these instruments have the potential to give a student, let's say, at least 5 years, maybe even more, of instruction time before they outgrow the capabilities of the piano. The con, if any, is that you're probably now spending more than you thought you were going to when you started your journey and your research. But as these things go, people's budget tends to get adjusted once they start really digging in and fully understanding the category. And so if you find yourself in this category, please know that this is a really great nexus of value in our industry and you've shopped well. Now the fifth category, we dive into the acoustic world, and this one will be familiar to anybody who has done some research into beginner pianos, and that is the free piano or next to free piano that you can find all over Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji, Craigslist, eBay, you name it. People are giving these things away. So is it a good idea? Now, the pro list on this one is very short and the con list very long. The only situation where I think this is a great idea to move forward with is if the seller is willing to include some type of inspection and delivery of this instrument. Otherwise, even a free piano could easily wind up costing you between $500 to $1,000 to get it into your home, tuned, inspected, and in a reasonably good state of play. And when you compare that cost to, say, a digital piano of the same price, often the digital piano is going to give you a better musical experience. So in terms of the con list, certainly we have that, a major value argument against going that direction. But there are also others, such as unknown technical and maintenance issues that you're going to run into this instrument. And if they're giving it away for free, sometimes that means that the piano is not serviceable anymore. And that's why they have discounted it so heavily, which means the minute you run into a major issue, that's kind of the end of the road. The sixth category here is a really popular one, which is branded used acoustic uprights for, say, $1,000 to $5,000 USD. A lot of these are going to be from brands that you trust and know, such as Kawai, Yamaha, Baldwin, or maybe some of the Samick product. The pro here is that if you can find an instrument that you really love to play and it seems to be in good working order and you can gain some level of confidence that you know the heritage of the instrument, either because you're buying it from a dealer or a private seller you trust, that you're saving quite a bit of money over a new piano. The cons with this really comes down to a few things. One, depends on how important warranty is for you, because in a lot of cases, you're buying a used piano with a limited or a non-existent warranty. Then the other con I find that a lot of people are aware of but haven't necessarily articulated is that they have totally cut themselves off of any other option except used in this price point. And what can often happen is you wind up settling musically because you're not prepared to leave that category to search out other options, either because you're not ready to move up in budget or you really want to stay away from digital. So I would encourage anyone in this category not to simply settle for something that musically doesn't excite them just because it's slotting into the budget range and the type that you originally set out to find. The seventh category is new acoustic pianos, and that really starts these days from about $5,000 and up. Now the pro is that you have all of the freedom to choose exactly what is going to excite you, both from a musical and aesthetic standpoint. You've got an opportunity to work with a retailer who can possibly modify and customize the instrument for you as part of the deal, whether that be voicing or some regulation requests. And you've got the warranty to know that no matter what happens with the instrument, you're well protected, usually between 5 to 10 years into the future. Also, you can often access upgrade packages and plans if you are working with a retailer that does that. And so it really guarantees that that larger spend isn't going to be lost or wasted. you'll be able to continue moving forward if the piano journey also moves forward. Another pro in this category that people often don't think about until they're actually shopping is that you can usually access financing and a wide range of financing options when you're in this category. Now, in terms of cons, really this is exclusively just cost. All of the things that we just talked about on the pro list needs to really mean something to you, and you have to arrive at a real place of comfort that these things have value and you're ready to pay for them, even beyond just the material part of the piano. It is a larger spend, and you need to have the confidence that music is going to be a part of the house moving forward for many years to come. Now, the eighth category, which I'm going to call the fantasy category, but believe it or not, absolutely exists, is the unlimited budget category for somebody who's never played piano before. A lot of times these instruments are not being purchased for children or young learners. They're being purchased for adults who now have the time and the finances to really get something exciting and inspiring and take on piano as an activity later in life. And in this case, I'm going to make the recommendation I always make, which is the budget is appropriate as long as you have the ability to enjoy and discern what that higher level instrument is giving to you. I look at it in a lot of ways like wine. If you can't tell the difference between a $10 to a $20 to a $50 bottle of wine, well, then the right budget for you, even if you're just getting into wine, is probably the $10 wine. Because what really are you getting to up the budget? I see pianos in exactly the same way. If something in life has already given your ears and your fingers the ability to tell the difference between a $20 to a $40,000 or a $40 to an $80,000 grand or an upright piano, then it might actually be worth it. Because the physical joy you get from playing a great acoustic piano is really hard to put a price on, but not if you can't tell that it's there in the first place. Similar to the last category, the con really is just the level of financial investment, but if you can afford it and it's really not a concern, then this is the fun category that we'd all love to be in, which is go shop for piano that is going to excite you and want to make you be in front of that instrument non-stop. So thank you so much for joining us for today's video on how much should you spend on your first instrument. I hope it's been helpful. I would love to hear comments and suggestions that people have in terms of the process they've gone through to establish what the right spend was. Thank you so much for joining us at Merriam Pianos here on YouTube. My name is Stu Harrison. Please consider subscribing, and please check out the description below because we've got instrument reviews and instrument names that slot into all of the categories that we just mentioned. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.